Green Cooling scores with the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League show.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning or good night. Whenever you're listening to us, you are listening, of course, to the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League show. We're back, baby, for another week. And this is, of course, the first Community Rugby League podcast. I think I can say that, can't I? Certainly one of them.
Well, I think it was probably the first one going,
Longest running one, anyway.
Yeah.
My name's Dave Parkinson. Delighted to have you along for the ride once more. And I'm joined as ever by Steve Beech. How are you doing, Steve? You okay, mate?
Yeah, doing fine. Thanks, Parker. Obviously refreshed from the weekend. We had a little bit of a rest because when all's said and done, there's a lot of stuff that we covered with the things that we're doing currently, so it was just nice to have that little bit of a break. So it just sort of gets the fire going again, ready for this week and onwards.
What did he say? Fondness makes the heart grow. Well, what is it?
Yeah, it is.
There's something like that, isn't it?
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah. You can trust a Lather to get the saying wrong, can't you? It was a famous saying, and then Dave got it wrong. Yeah. Okay. Well, what have we got coming up? Well, a little bit later on, we'll be having a chat with Roose Pioneers head coach Lee Edmondson. Fantastic little chat with him, all about his history with Roose, the history of Roose themselves, and also how they've been going on in the North West Men's League Division 2 this season. Also looking in a little bit more detail at that particular league. But we've got our usual features. So once again, it was a sort of truncated National Conference League fixture list. Just the two games that took place. We've got a nice match report from one of them. But we do have a full range of things that have been happening up in Cumbria, don't we, Steve?
We do, yeah. We've got a good look of different things that were going on up there, and certainly with Enzingham 18s doing very well in the Barla 18s Cup there and reaching the final. And obviously, again, talking about the Barla Cup, there's the open age side of it as well, which we'll be discussing, because it's been a bit of a cup weekend all round as well. Because in the Northwest Men's, there's been cup games there too.
Definitely. So, shall we start with Cumbria?
We can do, yeah.
So, I'm going to start first of all with Lauca. Okay. So again, I'm looking via the Cumbria Crack newspaper, and the story of the weekend saw Lauca edge an exciting Holman-Eagleson Cumberland clash with leaders Maryport by 26 points to 22. It was a third successive tough clash for Lauca, having lost to both top four rivals Wathbrow 8 and Kells 8 in recent weeks. But this time they got it right with tries from Mitch Todd, he scored 2, Zendon Callender, Luke Stockton and Jordan Allen. Man of the match Emerson Allen kicked 3 goals as well. Host Maryport, who actually led 18-10 at half time, scored tries through Liam Anderson, Sam Forrester, Danny Dryden and man of the match Luke Baker. Dryden also kicked 3 goals. The Lauca coach Lee Allen said it was a really good win for us against a good, skillful Maryport side. We were 18-10 down at half time, but really muscled up in defence in the second half when we scored some nice tries to earn the win. Mark Foster, the Maryport coach, added, "It was a game in the end which could have gone either way, but when we led 18-4 in the first half, if we'd scored next, I feel we would have gone on and won it." However, credit to Lauca, they scored almost on half time and immediately afterwards to get themselves back in the game, and after that it was nip and tuck between the two evenly matched teams. In a battle of the A teams, Hensingham came out on top by 50 points to 14 at Dissington. Get this, there's a name which we've commentated on, who was the star of the show. Jay Wetherill dominated the contest. He scored 5 tries and kicked 7 goals for a personal tally of 34 points.
Wonder if he had them pink boots on.
And they were wondering as well whether this might be some form of league record as well. So, you know, the record books are certainly being looked at as we speak, and no doubt we'll get told. And if it is a record, well done to Jay.
Yeah.
But it was a strengthened Hensingham side with Wetherill, one of the players drafted in with strong NCL experience, both with Wathbrow and Hensingham. John Carrick, Travis Fife and David Cartmel were the other try scorers for Hensingham. Tom Glover, Stephen Conway and Alfie Penaluna were the try scorers for Hensingham, with Jaden Hewer landing 1 goal. Chris Crowe, the Hensingham coach, said it was a great performance as we moved the ball very well and defended the middle really tough against a physical Dissington side. We had some lads who've been playing National Conference League all season who came into key positions and they made a huge difference. We couldn't use the majority of our under-18s as they were playing a National Cup semi-final game also today. Hopefully we get to play Dissington again with all our young lads, as what Dissington have done with their youth over the last few seasons has been brilliant, and it will be good to see the sides go head to head. Wetherell, not surprisingly, was Hensingham's man of the match, with Ryan Hodgson picking up the award for Dissington. Kettles A also reached the half-century mark as they beat injury-hit Askham by 50 points to 4. Elfie Elliott with 3, man of the match Ashton Syce with 2, Dan Starkey with 2, and Casey Chambers and the returning Tyrone Dalton scored tries, with goals from Ross Gameford, who kicked 5, Dalton and Dylan Telford all chipping in. You're looking at me with a quizzical look on your face here, Steve.
Just with it being Dalton, is it any relation to Miller?
I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's been knocking around Tyrone Dalton for a long time in community rugby up in Cumbria. I had a stint with, I think it was Workington earlier on in his days. I think he played a bit of academy rugby for him a few years ago. Always been a decent player, Tyrone, to be fair. Lewis Stables, he scored the Askham try after they trailed by 24 points to 0 at half time. Jonathan Wignall, the Kells coach, said it was a good performance against a tough-spirited Askham side. We scored points at the back end of each half, which flattered us. Askham defended well, but we broke them down eventually in the warm conditions. I'm not having that. Warm in Cumbria?
It's all relative.
How did that happen? There were some very good performances from our middle forwards who kept us on the front foot and defended well. Chris Broadley, the Askham player coach, said we only travelled with 15 players, but they were fully committed and stuck at it right to the end. I thought Dale Lampton was superb at 13 and set a great example as we try to improve week to week. I'd just like to thank Kells for their superb hospitality. That was one of the reasons we joined the league, and it's been a feature of all the away games so far. Aspatria had their biggest win since returning to the league as they topped 50 points with a 54-16 home win over Flimby. They built on a 28-0 half-time lead and scored tries through Stuart Creighton, who grabbed 3, Corey Bouch, who scored 2, Keenan Foster, man of the match Francis Dixon, Danny Potts, Billy Stafford and Luke Day, and Ben Tootle kicked 7 goals. For Flimby, there were tries from Reece Booty, who grabbed a hat-trick, and Corey Petrie, with Booty landing a goal. Yestin Harris, I'm sure it's not the same one, was their man of the match. Aspatria chairman Mike Ridley said our coaching team were well pleased with the support play and how we produced some good open rugby on our return to Beacon Hill. Credit to a young Flimby side who never let their heads drop and kept at it right to the end. Flimby's Ricky Morrison, he said Aspatria were a strong side, but our young lads stepped in the second half and put in an excellent performance. Yestin Harris was our man of the match, while it was great to see 17-year-old Corey Petrie score a try on his debut. Cockermouth Titans also enjoyed their best result of the season so far when they won 66-6 at Egremont A. It had been a fairly tight first half with Cockermouth 18-6 ahead at the break, but they pulled away in the second period. Seamus Hutton with 4 tries, man of the match Ryan Scott with 3, Regan Tinian, Jordan Hevra, Reese Burr and player coach Liam McEvoy scored tries, with Tinian kicking 11 goals. Nathan Preston scored the Egremont try and Lee Rogers converted. Egremont boss Kevin Brown said the difference was that Cockermouth had a couple of really good strike players in Ryan Scott and Seamus Hutton, and with them in the side they will give most teams a game. As for us, I know it's a learning curve for the lads, but I'm happy to see them out there getting games under their belts, learning and improving as the season goes on. Some cracking action there in Cumbria.
Do you know what I like about that? I'm sat here listening to you go through that, Parker, and all those interviews that all the opposing coaches have praised things to do with the other teams. Now, isn't that really refreshing?
They're all...
Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, anywhere else they diss the other team. What I'm saying is, a lot of people just stick to their own team and there may be the odd reference to the other side, but every one of those was, which just shows that sort of camaraderie up in that area, doesn't it?
I think it sums up that togetherness, to be honest. And it's something that is really apparent, particularly, like over the last few years, where I've been involved with England Community Lions, and you get lads coming in from Cumbrian sides, and they all get on.
Yeah.
Immediately, they're like the glue that holds teams together because of the way that they get on, and they're very, easygoing. They all appreciate, they all respect everybody else. Yeah. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it was a couple of weeks ago. I first noticed it, and then I thought, well, it might be just the odd report, but yeah, I mean, like you've gone through about 2 or 3 games there, and each coach has praised the other side, even picked players out from the other side as well, to give them a rap as well.
Now, your fixtures this coming weekend in the Holman Eagleson Cumberland League on Friday, Hensingham host Flimby. On Saturday, Askham are at home to Egremont Rangers. Kells at home to Maryport. Cockermouth Titans, they're at home to Espatria Hornets. Lauca up against Ellenborough Rangers. And I was just having a quick look at this as well. The draw for the semi-finals of the Elam Amateur Cup has been in. We might have mentioned this last week, actually. Wathborough Hornets will take on Espatria Hornets. Yeah. Hensingham are up against Kells. Ties to be played on Friday, the 7th of June. Now, talking of Espatria, and they're on the hunt for a new coach. So Espatria, they're holding interviews in the search for a new coach after long-serving Mike Scott stood down from the role. Scott has had to pull back from the position because of increased work commitments, but he will stay closely involved at the club in an oversight role. A top player before his move into coaching, Scott is a legend at Bower Park, so supporters were relieved to learn that he'll still be involved with the club. Club representatives have confirmed that they are delighted with the number and quality of applicants for the position of senior coach and are currently conducting final interviews with an appointment said to be only days away. The update came at the club's presentation night, which was compared by Jack Clegg, who stressed the importance of an enjoyment of the game at Espatria, win or lose, and stressed that this was the glue that binds the squad together. It says as well, Clegg took time to mention all the human moving parts at Bower Park who provide vital contributions. This is a club run by many volunteers giving time to a wide variety of tasks, from catering to ground maintenance and all the things in between. When added up, the bottom line is a highly successful club representing a town of less than 3,000 people and about to celebrate its 150th anniversary season. Within the overall performance review, it was acknowledged that a 5th place finish in the Regional 2 North League was a satisfactory and fair outcome. A challenge for a top 3 finish looked a realistic ambition pre-Christmas, but in the final analysis, 4 clubs above Espatria established clear water between themselves. So that's looking like there's a bit of something happening there at Espatria at the moment. Hopefully they come up with the right decision there for the benefit of that club moving forward. I'm sure they'll come up with it, won't they?
Yeah.
They're a well-run side, and we wish them all the best moving forward. You mentioned as well about an outstanding performance from Hensingham under-18s beforehand as well, didn't you?
Yeah, as you mentioned that, or as the coach mentioned, that they couldn't play a number of their under-18s in the game that they were playing at the weekend, because on the same day their under-18s side were in the Barla National Cup, and they were up against the Alton Rangers, and Hensingham produced a superb performance to reach that final. And the West Cumbrians, as I said, travelled to the Yorkshire League leaders, Alton Rangers, in the semi-final and came away with a 18 points to 6 victory. Alton had been unbeaten in the domestic competition and in the Barla National Cup, so this was quite a performance from Hensingham. They knew from the start it was going to be a tough physical game, and they manned up accordingly. They had to play uphill in the first half and under a lot of pressure defended superbly while scoring a very good try. After the change round, Hensingham dominated and never really let Hulton out of their own half. Importantly, they took their chances when they appeared. Miller Dalton 2 and Luca Middleton were the try scorers, with Dylan Bragg kicking 3 goals. overall, it was a really good win against the top side, and Enzingham deserved it for all the hard work that they put in place. The final will be played on June the 30th at Featherstone Rovers, the best ground, and they will be up against Birkenshaw Bulldogs, who edged out Ashton Burrs 14 points to 12 in the other semi-final. And it will have been 32 years since Enzingham last won the Under-19s National Cup, so this group has an opportunity to achieve something as special as that group of players. Got to say congratulations to Enzingham there. And obviously, we spoke to Miller Dalton when we were it was at Bentley, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. He's getting quite a few National Conference League games under his belt this season as well, Miller. So, but he has been playing a lot of rugby. He's been playing for both the under-18s and the open age. So, he's been getting loads of experience.
Yeah. Obviously he's at an age to a certain degree where he can do that, but that's something that's obviously as he gets older has got to be managed. Let's see what's going to happen as we move on. So where we're going to next, Dave?
You know what? I think we may go Northwest Men's League.
Northwest Men's. It was a lot of cup competitions this weekend. Some results from there. Straight away, we've got the Shield, and this was an absolute cracker. This one. Two teams who we spoke about. One certainly who I put my money on right at the beginning of the season, and then fell about 3 weeks in. But nevertheless, they're still doing well. It's A. Warriors. They were up against Erskfinch here, and if you remember rightly, when we were down at Erskfinch last, we were talking to the first team coaches about their A team, and they were giving them big raps, and they've been doing really well. And obviously they're getting a group of players there now, numbers wise, that they are. They're putting together a couple of good teams. But it was A. Warriors who came out on top, very close. So it was A. Warriors 18, Erskfinch A 12. So, for both sides, that's two sides, I think, moving forward, that I think are going to move up pretty swiftly by the looks of things.
I did hear a bit of a story at the weekend as well, that Haydock are welcoming back one of the old favourite sons, Dean Dollins, pulling the jersey on again. So great to hear that Dino's back playing rugby.
But that's great. The other game, as we move into the Cup, it's West Orton Lions. They were up against Orrell St James. Obviously we've been chatting about this one, how well West Orton Lions have been doing. And we'd seen how good Orrell St James were last week against Latchford Albion, and it was West Orton Lions 12, Orrell St James 34. So Orrell St James coming out on top there. From a West Orton Lions point of view, that's nothing to be ashamed of, is it? At the end of the day,
there's no discredit there, is there? We know how strong Orrell St James are when they're at their best, don't we? And the fact that they can trouble anybody. Indeed, they'll probably look at that and think we can learn a lot from that game.
Yeah, I think the other game in that was the game we were on about last week. Should have been played on the Friday between. No, I'm getting mixed up there.
We've got a couple of results in the trophy as well. Yeah. So Garswood Stags 22, Banky Bulls 30. That sounds like an outstanding game as well, doesn't it? And Rochdale Mayfield A 52, Roose Pioneers 20. So that's a similar sort of result to when the two sides met in the league, actually, a couple of weeks ago. The other result in the Shield saw Folly Lane A 48, Liverpool Lizards 26. And I do believe there was meant to be a game in Division 1 between St Cuthbert's and Goulburn Parkside, but according to League Express, that game didn't take place and it was off. So your fixtures this coming weekend. In the Premier Division, Blackbrook are playing Folly Lane, Hurstfinch host Heysham Atoms, Halton Farmouth Hornets travel over to play against Latchford Albion. Orrell St James, they're away at Shevington Sharks. In Division 1, Hindley at home to Wigan St Cuthbert's in a bit of a derby game. You've got Burton Woodbridge hosting Dalton. Goulburn Parkside are at home to the rejuvenated Chorley Panthers. Meanwhile, Salford City Roosters are away at Thatto Heath Crusaders A. And West Horton Lions, they're at home to Ulverston. Into Division 2, and Wigan Springview are set to take on Newton Storm. Highpool Tigers are also set to host Waterhead Warriors A, and Roose Pioneers, they're on the road at Westbank Bears. We'll hear a little bit more from Roose Pioneers in just a couple of minutes. Elsewhere in Division 3, you've got Blackpool Scorpions hosting Carries Head Rhinos. Clotface Miners A hosting Runcorn Highfield. Banky Bulls are at Garswood Stags, and Higginshaw, they make the trip over to Wigan at St Jude's. And in Division 4, Langworthy Reds host Bolton. In fact, that game won't go ahead, will it? Because Bolton have withdrawn from the league.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Liverpool Lizards, they host West Horton Lions A side. Oral St James A are set to host the Chester Gladiators. Culcheth Eagles, they have the short trip over to play against Portico Vine.
Some interesting games there.
Really interesting games. Now we've spoken about Roose Pioneers, and just the other day, I got to catch up with coach Lee Edmondson. This is our conversation.
Green cooling keeps the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League show cool, even when tackles get heated.
Yes, it's the time of the show that we always enjoy when we get to speak to a guest, and this time out it's no different. We've got Lee Edmondson on the other end of the line now. Lee, he's the head coach of Roose Pioneers, and I'm hoping that he can tell me all about the club. How are you doing, Lee, first of all? Are you okay, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Dave. Thanks for the opportunity to do this. It's a pleasure, really.
Well, to be fair, it's been a long time in coming, hasn't it? You know, because I know we've been wanting to have this chat probably for a couple of months, really, and then due to one thing and another, it's not got done. But better late than never.
Yeah, that's fine. It's no problem, mate.
It's like Guinness. These things are always worth waiting for. So, first of all, I wanted to ask you a little bit about Roose Pioneers. You know, how long's the club been going? You know, how established are you?
Yeah, so it was two clubs in Barrow. So it was Roose and Holker Pioneers, who've been going for 100 odd years, and Holker Pioneers, I think it was formed around in the 50s. And then I think it was the 97-98 season, the two open age sections joined together to formulate Roose Pioneers there. And then shortly after, I think a year or so after, the junior sections joined. So it's been going on from them really since the late 90s. So
it really made the club a stronger proposition that then, did it, the merger between the two?
Yeah, I think it was two. I remember at the time I was I think I was in the 14s myself, and at the time, and my dad was playing and involved with the coaching of the first team, and it kind of both clubs were just kind of bobbing along, you know, not really. I wouldn't say not going anywhere, but just kind of, you know, getting on year to year, and then they kind of formulated together, and then they went up from, I think it was Division 2, Division 1, and into the Premier Division of the North West Counties then. So they started to sort of get some success on the field there, really, and then it brought stuff off the field as well.
So you've been involved since the start, really, then, have you?
Yeah, I started playing. So I think it was 1991. My dad took me down to the under sevens. Well, it was under nines then because there was no under sevens, and just took me along training, really. And I think I was a bit reluctant at first, and then kind of got into it, and then just kind of played from under nine, and then. As soon as I made that decision, I think a week later, the Northwest Men's League then joined, did the summer, but I'd already committed by then. So I was still involved at Pioneers, even though I was playing at Millom. I was still on the committee. I was still coaching a kids team. And then it kind of come around 2004, them all the way through. And then when they got to the last year of 18s, I kind of said I'd probably take them through to open age for at least that first year. And that's how it come about, really.
Wow, okay, that's a great story, that, to be honest, isn't it? You know, and just shows the longevity, I suppose, of the involvement, and probably how much it's captured your heart, I suppose.
Yeah, it's always been, apart from me spell at Millom, which I had 7 years up at Millom in total. But I've always been, involved with Roose Pioneers, and I seen the growth in these kids. I seen that under 10s team, sort of a really good set of lads, and I thought, right, I can do something with these and take them all the way through, and that was my kind of vision, and to get the club back on its feet, really.
And you won't be the first person that's moved from Roose to go over to play for Millom, will you? You know, there's a bit of a tradition, I suppose, isn't there?
My dad did the same, if I'm being honest. So sort of 20 years earlier, my dad did the same. He sort of went just for one season from Holker Pioneers up to Millom for one season. he could never sing the praise high enough for that club, and I had a few mates up there anyway, and it just come about, obviously with them go to the summer, and Anthony Murray was the coach at the time, who's obviously moved on to the pro ranks coaching, and I went up there. I just loved my time there. It was great, really. But I always had Pioneers in my heart also, so it made a sense when I sort of come back and carried on the role around at Pioneers.
So I always get the feeling, when I speak to somebody from Cumbria, that to be honest, you might have like club rivalries, but it doesn't seem as deep seated as maybe if I chat to somebody from a Wigan or a League club or a St Helens club.
Yeah, you still, I think with Barrow in the area being what it's like, a lot of people work with each other. When there's inter-town teams, Barrow District teams, Cumbria teams, you might share a lift up there, with lads from other clubs. So you do become sort of friendly with them, and everyone's kind of knows each other really. And there's rivalry on the field, but off the fields, everyone sort of gets on really, and mates wants to see everyone kind of do well. I
suppose it's a good respect sort of thing then in that case.
Yeah, and I think the way sort of rugby is, you obviously, it's not your normal sport, is it? So you take the field, you respect whoever, puts on a shirt and plays against you. And I think we've all rallied round. Everyone goes in cycles where clubs have strong periods and weaker periods, but we've all kind of rallied round each other, and you want everyone to do best really for the best of the game. So
you've mentioned that. So we're on this sort of cycle. Do you feel you are with Roose at the moment?
I think we've probably since that summer period. I don't feel it was because of the change to summer. I think it was just the way it was at the time. We were sort of hobbling along, I think, for quite a few years, probably the best way to say it. And then we had a bit. So we had a few coaches come in and did a good job. They took us from playing in the local league, Barrow District League, took us to the North West Counties again, and then a couple more coaches carried that on. But 2022, we just had to fold the first team, the Open Age, which was a shame. But I then think since sort of bringing the 18s through, the team that we had, and we coached myself and sort of Gav, I think we're sort of on the rebuilding to sort of building up again stage now. So it's exciting times for the club.
And it's always good to see from like your social media, just how much you appreciate what some of those younger lads have done. I noticed there's been a couple of announcements recently about lads joining Barrow, for example. You must be really proud as a club, with that type of progression. Yeah,
it's always good. We've got Finn McMillan, signed for Barrow. We've had Tom Farron and a few other lads sort of playing in the England setup, and it's really good to see this sort of. The outcome of what the club's kind of put into them guys, coaching them through the years and care, giving them care and a pat on the back every now and again, an arm around the shoulder, and it's good to see they've sort of progressed, and that must be the aim for every club, I think, to see the lads do as best they can in the game.
I'm glad that you mentioned, like a couple of those lads that are currently on that England Community Lions pathway, because, it's important that, isn't it? And it gives clubs recognition for the work, as you say, that a lot of coaches have done down the years with them.
Yeah, I think it does, and it's. I was involved with the Cumbria once I finished playing myself. I was involved. I got asked to come along with Gary Hewer, who's involved a lot with the. With that England setup now, so Gary asked me to come there and be the assistant underneath him, kind of thing, with the county championship, and it sort of worked well. It was really good, so we got a few good years out of that, and again, it's good to see local lads sort of getting an opportunity to firstly get selected for Cumbria and then get selected for Barla or the Lions or whatever program might be there.
There was some cracking years as well, wasn't there? And some excellent players have played for Cumbria in the last few years. I know, but perhaps at Barla level, it's not perhaps as strong as it was now. But I think that there's been loads of people that have come through those ranks as well, hasn't there?
Yeah, there has, and it is. It's good. It gives the lads who might never sign pro or sort of on the way up to potentially signing pro, it gives them that level there of something to achieve, something to be proud of, representing your country at whatever level it might be. And it is good. It's good to be recognised for the person and for the club as well. Really
brilliant. I want to talk a little bit about Roose this season actually. Because your results so far have been, well, to be honest, they've been pretty outstanding. You got to the semi-finals of the trophy. You're doing pretty well in the league as well. In fact, I noticed 160 points in 4 games. Wow, you're doing something right, aren't you?
Yeah, I think I don't like to read too much into that. We did all right. We got to the semi-final of the Barton Townley and got beat by Ulverston and that, who play in the league above. But we made a good account of ourselves second half. We got to the semi-final North West Trophy and just got about muscled, I think, by Rochdale Mayfield at the weekend. They just out muscled a little bit. They had a big bench. And although I'm disappointed, to get to the semi-final and not progress through, I think I've got a kind of, when I sit back and reflect on it, it is an achievement itself, getting to 2 semi-finals in the year. But just got to concentrate on the league now, so we get back to league action this week. And yeah, you're right in what you're saying. We have scored a few points, but I think home and away is a big factor in that, as you know, with amateur sport. You might the team you face away might not be the team when they sort of travel to you, so I'm not taking anything for granted by that, really. I
mean, there's usually a massive change in personnel, isn't there, from week to week in community rugby these days? There
is, yeah. I think with summer, itself, and sort of there's a lot of shift work around as well. I think that kind of a big factor on who's available each week. But I think you just got to take the team that you've got, and just give it your all, really, and make sure you fulfil all the fixtures. That's our big aim since I took over. I wanted to fulfil every fixture, and try and take a full 17 every week, as best we can, which it's good some weeks when you've got 20 odd available at home, but it's when for me, it's the away games that really count, going there and making an account of yourself, really.
Is that when some of the younger players have really stood up to be counted on some of those away trips then over the last couple of years?
Yeah, so we've had a couple of that, but we actually had a chance. So we played Lee Miners a couple of weeks back, and they were similar to us. They had quite a few numbers, so they said we could play an extended squad. So I thought it'd be a good chance to play some of the under 18s. So I think we had 4 on shore that day. And I just want to blood them through, really, because I'm not so bothered about performance. It's not result only. It's kind of development for me, really, and bringing these lads through. So building for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years and beyond, really.
You've got to adopt more of a holistic approach, really, haven't you? And with the lads that you've got coming through the system, I suppose, and like you say, give them their heads. And as we've seen, when you look at other teams, I noticed that a lot of the teams that are successful at the top end of the national conference, for example, at the moment, they've got some young players that are all coming through now. So it bodes well for the future, doesn't it? It
does, yeah. And I wouldn't want to be a boom and bust team. You know what I mean? I think every club's been a victim of that at some point in the past. That I want to try and build a squad there of actual Roose Pioneers players, and that have come through the system, and then they feel like they're playing for a bit more than I think. It's actually their club, and I want them to belong to the club. It's not just on the field, it's training. It's when you do fundraising events. It's when you go and have a few beers afterwards, or do an end of season trip. That kind of thing. it's when I want to get the full experience, like when we were coming through the club, So I want these young lads to get the same thing and get the same sort of output from rugby as a lot of had.
Mm-hmm. And I notice as well that your next league game, you've already mentioned it. That's away at West Bank Bears, So if we go back just a couple of years, West Bank were right at the top of the Prem, weren't they?
Yeah. So as I say, it comes in cycles. With there's teams who are flying for a few years, aren't they? And then probably a victim of their own success in a way. They might have a few lads sign pro, or a few lads to sort of come into the back end of the career. And next thing you know, within 6, 12, 18 months, the whole makeup of that team and that club, the effect it has on the club can change. So it is sort of try to build a really solid foundation. That's what I'm going for at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Have you had much chance to see anything of West Bank? Do you get to see much of the teams what you play against in your division?
Not really. I've seen a few. You see the odd few videos here and there, but a lot of it's obviously behind pool in our league as well. So we do sort of Paul Rickleton. I speak to him quite a lot. He's obviously their captain, so we give each other a bit of report of what teams were like and things like that. But That's what you get most of, really. But I just expect most teams to be, especially when you're playing them away, they're going to be enthusiastic. They're going to be quite tough and physical. So that's what we go away and just try and prepare our best for that, really.
Are you looking forward to that trip down to Widnes this week?
I am, yeah. I enjoy all the away trips, and it'll be a tough game. I do expect a tough game, and you can't really go form as much as well, because, as I said, some teams might have lost the week before, and there might have been various reasons for it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and we just want to keep sort of pegging away, really, and see if we can hopefully get in that top four, top end of that top four, and then see how we do in the playoffs end of the year. That's the aim for this year.
Because, of course, it don't matter where you finish in that top four, because it's just you get playoffs then, don't you, for like who goes up?
You do, yeah. So last year we sort of set off flying. I think we won the first 4 or 5 games last year of the season, and then we was kind of flying, and then it come to this midpoint of the season, and we just, for one reason or not, we had a few injuries, a few away, and it just, our luck kind of changed a little bit, and we ended up finishing 5th, so we missed out on the top 4. So that was kind of a lesson learned last year, and we just want to try and avoid, just keep sort of building momentum as the season goes on, really.
I wanted to kind of ask you, because I've looked at the kind of the fixtures, and there's a massive gap, isn't there? So you play against West Bank Bears, and then you don't play again until like the 6th of July, I think it is, against Hyndpool.
It's right, yeah. So
how do you keep everybody involved in that period? Then have you got any plans, or is there any other competitions that you take part in? Or?
Well, we did have a game against Hyndpool. We rearranged that because of the weather early on the season, so that was going to be the Challenge Cup final day, but we've managed to move that back to that 6th of July. But we're trying to arrange a friendly at the moment, I think, for the 22nd of June. So I'm sort of, I don't want that big gap in between.
Because
I want to keep the momentum going, really.
It's quite a startling gap, really, isn't it? When you're looking at it, because as soon as I saw that, I was thinking, crikey, that's a huge amount of time, really, isn't it?
It is, and before you know it, you could have 4 weeks of a slight demise each week, and then you come back to building up again, and you might have lost a bit of momentum, maybe lost 1 or 2 players for whatever reason. So we want to try and keep the momentum building through the weeks.
I suppose if there is a plus point to that, though, you go week on week on week on week, don't you? Then when it's straight into it from July onwards.
We do, yeah. So we've got that break of 4 weeks, and then we've got a 6 week spell then of 6 weeks on the bounce, and then a couple of weeks, and then I think it's 3 games before the playoffs start. So that'll be the telling time for us. I think it's 3 away and 3 home games. So that'll be when we'll have to, as you know, that time of the year is holiday season. So that's when we'll be relying on all the troops, really, to try and get a squad and just ensure we can take the best team home and away each week.
I do love the fact that you've got Hyndpool in the same league. You must appreciate something of a local derby, though.
Yeah, it was good, and unfortunately we had Walney in the same league last year as well. So there was 3 teams, which was great for us around the Barrow area. Probably not as good for the teams in the Lancashire area having to come up here, 3 times. But that was good. It would have been the same this year, but Walney unfortunately had to withdraw. Their sort of first team from the North West Men's League. So, but it is good having Hyndpool there. It's good to get a couple of local games, and it's good to have an away game as well, which is just down the road for once, rather than a couple of hours away on the bus.
Interesting that you mentioned, Walney there. Hopefully they can look at kind of what you did with Roose, resurrecting that first team and get straight back into the action. Yeah,
well, I think they tried to sort of bounce back with the A team. I think they've kind of stumbled there, but they've got an under-15s team at the moment, which seems to be doing quite well. So it might be the same with us. As I say, the lads that we had, we took them to North West Counties in the under-15s.
Yeah.
And that's where we sort of got a bit of traction there and kept the lads together. So hopefully they can do the same and sort of bounce back from it.
Just looking at some of these other clubs that are in your league, and there's a right interesting mix, isn't there? You've got like Rochdale Mayfield, who, granted you've already tangled with them a couple of times this season. West Bank Bears, Waterhead's in there as well. We know their first team's been flying in the National Conference. Lee Miners usually put up quite a good quite a good effort, but having said that, you've beaten them convincingly twice already.
So looking forward to that. And there were two sort of good, decent, clean games when we played against them, so it's good.
Lee, it's been fascinating finding out a little bit more about Roose and also as well about how you're going this season. I wish you all the luck, and I hope that it's not the last time that we speak this year.
No, I will hope not. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. It's been good to get it done, and anytime I'm open to do this again. So cheers for your time, Dave.
From players, referees, and competitions to clubs and playing fields, we talk about the lot on the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League show.
What an interesting chat that was.
Nice bloke. Very nice bloke.
Really enjoyed having a chat and finding a bit more out about Division 2. There was a little bit that unfortunately the microphone didn't pick up, and that was where he was also praising Newton Storm and Wigan Springview in that competition as well. I've just got visions of people listening to that. He's not mentioned us. He's not mentioned us. What have we done? I can imagine you getting messages off Smiler, for example. But he did.
As we speak. Bing.
He did, to be honest. He did mention.
I've got to say, when I've spoke to the guys from Newton Storm and some of the other teams who were in Burton Wood, or another one who were in that league last year, and they said when they've been up to that neck of the woods, up to Roose Pioneers, they always get a warm welcome, and it's always a tough game, a hard game. And I remember seeing them play Newton down at home, and even though they were away, and they'd travelled that 2.5 hours to get there, they put a shift in, and to see them wobble from time to time, you can understand, like he was saying, and you've said in the past, Parker, it's not like the professional game where you can more or less churn the same team out week in and week out. I mean, there are other factors. I mean, even that's besides injuries.
There are. I mean, he mentioned the shift work.
Exactly,
and obviously around Barrow, there's a couple of big employers, isn't there?
That's right. Yeah. So, and the thing is, a lot of the people up there are employed by those two big employers. So if it's afternoon shift you've got to do, or an evening shift, and you've got to forfeit your rugby, then obviously your family comes first.
So I do find it really interesting looking at this competition, because obviously when you've got 8 teams in a division, that only makes for 14 league games overall, doesn't it? So it's quite interesting when you look at this league table, and you've got currently Rochdale Mayfield in second spot, but they've played 7 games so far. They've won 4 and lost 3. So they're going to run out of games, aren't they?
That's right,
you look at the likes of Hinepool's still got 10 games to play. Roose have still got 10 to play. You've got Waterhead still got 9 to play. So there can be a lot of changes in and amongst that sort of top 4, top 5, can't there?
Yeah, and the other thing that he was mentioning there, which I'd never thought of before, but you can totally understand it. When you can be on a good run, a really good run, and then suddenly there's a gap in the fixture list of it, like 2 to 3 weeks there, that can really take the momentum out of your game altogether, can't it?
Well, I was fascinated because they've got this game against West Bank Bears at the weekend, so that's the 1st of June. Then they don't play again until the 6th of July. So that's why I was quite keen. I know I kind of almost felt like I was interrupting him, but I was like, I couldn't believe there was such a long gap in the calendar, to be honest.
And do you know what the annoying thing about that is? That if any games are forfeited for any reason, the teams get absolutely slammed for that time, and rightly so. But there's got to be a balancing act where you've got to give these guys the opportunity to be playing every week. They pay the subs, etc. So and I know the likes of Roose Pioneers, Hinepool, and Warnley last year when they were in it. They travelled regular as clockwork, and as we say, it's not actually on the doorstep. Much as the same when the other guys go the other way. It's probably one of the divisions that is probably the closest to the NCL in the sense of the amount of
The amount of travel.
Travel that is.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. I mean, to be fair as well, Division 1 has quite a bit of travelling as well, doesn't it? With Ulverston and Dalton in there. Yeah. Even to a lesser extent, Chorley. Going up to Charlie's a little bit of a trek for some of the other teams that are local to ourselves. And just looking at that competition as well, you've got Dalton out in front, having won all 7 of their games so far. Hindley in second spot, Ulverston in third with 4 wins from their 5 games. Burton Wood tucked in 4th spot at the moment, but they're leading a list of clubs. I think there's 4 or 5 clubs that are on 6 points each. So it's not a cut deal by any stretch of the imagination. There is it? As
we're saying, you only need the result. You forget a win, and the results go your way on one weekend, and you can shuffle about God knows how many different places there at the moment.
I mean, even when you look at the Premier Division, okay, there's been a few less games played. It looks a little bit more solid. Most of the teams have played 5 games. Only Ashton Burrs have played 1 less, which is a curious one. But then again, we must remember it is a 9-team division.
That's right, yeah.
So there would be an extra fixture somewhere in the ranks, wouldn't there? And somebody having a weekend off at some point. Ashton Burrs having only played the 4 games so far. But again, other than Hurst Finch, they've got a bit of a gap, and then you've got Orrell St James, Halton Farmer Hornets, Ashton Burrs, and then just beneath them, Sheffington, Blackbrook and Heysham, all waiting for somebody to slip up, basically. So it's in quite good nick at the moment, isn't it, when you look at these divisions?
Not bad. I mean, everybody's got there's, I suppose, technically speaking, there's only Latchford really cut adrift at the moment to a certain extent. But again, like we say, a couple of wins there, and they move up because what have we got? 10 points for the top and 2 for the bottom.
Yeah.
But there's still quite a few games left to play, though.
That's true. And then if you look at Division 3, you've got Gartwood Stags, who's won 7 out of 7 so far. Banky Bulls tucked in just behind them with a draw and 6 wins. Then you've got Runcorn Highfield tucked just beneath them, and Wigan St Jude's locked on 9 points each, Hickinshaw on 8, and then Blackpool Scorpions, Clotface and Caddy's Head a bit further behind. But again, like you said, a couple of wins can change the whole complexion of the league, can't it? In that respect. And then Division 4, we've got Haydock out on top, having won 6 of their 8 games so far. Langworthy tucked in just behind them with an identical record to Orrell St James, 4 wins and 2 losses from 6 games. Portico Vine tucked just beneath them, 4 wins and 3 losses. Chester Gladiators have also won 4 and lost 2. And even Culcheth and Liverpool Lizards aren't that far behind either. Liverpool Lizards had a real positive start to the year, didn't they? And then they've come up with a couple of losses over recent times. Yeah,
I mean, you look at that league and you think, are they so low down? Because the losses that they have had, I know, as far as I'm aware, they've not been massive. So when we've looked at the results, we've thought, well, actually,
they've been in with a chance, haven't they?
Yeah, they put a good shout in there.
And could quite easily be 6 from 6, couldn't they? On another day. On another day.
Different call here,
So it's always interesting to have a look. I thought it was nice that we're able to review kind of at this stage kind of what's going on around the leagues. Moving over to the Yorkshire men's competitions, and like in the Northwest men's, we've also had cup comp. We've got trophy. We've got shield results. So we'll start off with the Cup. Doncaster Tall Bar 44, Ossett Trinity Tigers 12. In the Trophy, Mould Green 22, Bramley Buffaloes 26, Illingworth 34, Doneth Miners 24. And in the Shield, York St John Barbarians 50, Garforth Tigers 12. And I don't know whether you've got a result for this one, Steve. Sherburn Burrs
and Oulton Raiders.
And Oulton, yeah.
Yeah, it's Sherburn Burrs 18, Oulton Raiders 56.
Oh, right. Big win for Oulton.
Big win.
In the NCL Alliance Cup, Eastmoor Dragons 22, Heworth 24, West Bowling Academy 41, West Hull 24. That's a bit of a turn up for the books for West Bowling Academy, that one. And then your league results, that features Emley Moor Cougars 40, Birkenshaw Blue Dogs 16 in Division 2. In Division 5, there was a convincing win for Derby Elks, who beat Lindley St Joseph's by 60 points to 10. In the NCL Alliance Division, Stanley 42, Normanton Knights 0. And in the Hull Division, Skirler against the Scunthorpe Steel Sharks was off. Looking at the fixtures this coming weekend, in the Premier Division, we've got Keighley Albion hosting Almondbury Spartans. Newson Panthers travel over to King Cross Park. Doncaster Tollbar, they're away at Stanley Rangers. Westgate Common are at home to Fryston Warriors. In Division 1, Bradford Dudley Hill take on Siddle Academy. That should be an outstanding game, shouldn't it? Cutside Raiders are at home to Hunslet. Ossett Trinity Tigers, they host Murfield. Charleston Rovers, they're at home to Wibsey Warriors. And in Division 2, Birkenshaw Blue Dogs host Brighouse Rangers. Emley Moor Cougars, they are hosting Queensbury. Seacroft Sharks are away at Illingworth. Castleford Panthers, they make the short trip over to play against Mould Green. And in Division 3, you've got Birstall Victoria hosting Ellen and Greetland. Upton are at home to New Ayswick All Blacks. Dodworth Miners are away at Wyke, with Bramley Buffaloes making the trip to York Acorn. And in Division 4, Goole Vikings are up against Dewsbury Moor. Before I go any further, Goole Vikings have actually announced the hopes of joining League One next season, but they still want to retain a community club in Goole as well.
Oh, right.
So the RFL has recently put out that they're after, clubs stepping up to League One level, and Goole Vikings have been one of the teams to raise the hand above the parapet and say, that's us. There's apparently a couple of other National Conference League clubs that have also said that they have, but they've not gone public.
Yeah, because I'm sure, on Twitter, there's been some people trying to squeeze the word out of
Egremont have been pushing
the old Egremont media.
Yeah, they've been trying to push the envelope, haven't they, a little bit without much success so far. I'm sure if we hear about it, we'll bring you the news.
It's hardly the Thursday Murder Club, is it?
Not quite, but fair play to Gould. They've obviously they do have ambitions, and to be fair,
good on them.
They are in that gap, aren't they, between Hull and York?
Yeah.
So you're thinking
could be a good catchment area.
It could be a good catchment area, and to be fair, I think I've always thought that's a good area, for because it's like not that far from either of those places. I think you mentioned it a couple
of weeks back, actually, Parker. It just seems a nice little sort of. Isolated is the wrong word, but there are people there who
you're not that far away,
exactly,
but you are expanding the footprint a little bit, aren't you? Which is what we should all be about. I think sometimes we've tried to run before we can walk in rugby league, haven't we? Particularly when you look at expansion clubs, and it's almost like, here, let's throw a dart to see where it sticks. We'll have a club there. So I would like to see a little bit more. I suppose a little bit more. Do a safe thought put into it. And I applaud Goole Vikings for putting themselves forward there. So in Division 4 they're hosting Dewsbury Moor this coming weekend. Newson Panthers are at home to Alton Raiders. West Craven Warriors are set to travel over to Sherburn Bears. York Barbarians are over at Underbank Rangers. And in Division 5 you've got Batley hosting the Farnley Falcons. Derby Elks are on the road at Criggleston All Blacks. Garforth Tigers up against the Dearne Valley Bulldogs. Lindley St Joseph's, they're travelling again this week. They're set to play against the Scarborough Pirates. Division 6, Guiseley Rangers are hosting Keighley Albion Academy. Hemsworth Dragons are set to host Charleston Rovers Academy. Moortown Mambas are at home to the King Cross Park Academy. Meanwhile, Birkenshaw Blue Dogs Academy are away at Rycroft Hammers. And in the National Conference League Alliance Division, Bentley hosts Stanningley. Heworth are over at Eastmoor Dragons. You've got West Bowling Academy over at Milford, and Normanton Knights hosting Shortcross Sharks. And in the Hull division, East Hull are up against Myton Warriors. Scunthorpe Steel Sharks host Skirler, and West Hull are set to host the Cottingham Tigers. Tell you where we've not gone yet, and that's the Bala National Cup.
Just going to say about that, Parky. Well, the open age results. For the weekend, obviously, we're keeping an eye on these, and it was Mirfield. They were up against Rochdale Mayfield. Well, it wasn't a good day for Mirfield. It was Mirfield 0, Rochdale Mayfield 62.
Big result, that.
Huge result. Another game which we sort of had a quick chat about, I think, at the time that we knew that it could be a good one. Dudley Hill against Hurst Finch. And it was Dudley Hill 16, Hurst Finch 46. So Hurst Finch moving on there, and obviously very strong this year. And then Orrell St James, they were up against Upton at Dayworth home, and it was Orrell St James 34, Upton 12.
Hang on, what was the score of the other game? That was 34-12 as well. You'd be at long odds to have two different teams coming out with exactly the same results and the same score on the same day.
Whoa!
I bet that's not happened too many times.
I think we'll just slap some money on Betfred there. And finally, the last game in that quarter-final, the Barley Open Age National Cup. Thatterweath, they were up against Alton Farnworth Hornets, obviously from Widnes, and Thatterweath too good on the day. It was Thatterweath Crusaders 36, Alton Farnworth Hornets 0.
Good win that for Thatto. We know already that they've been struggling a little bit for league form or consistent sort of league form, so maybe they can use that as a springboard into the second half of the season now.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Well, that brings the semi-final pairings, as it were, is Orrell St James. They've been drawn against Rochdale Mayfield, and Thatterweath Crusaders, well, they will be playing Hurst Finch, which will be an absolute humdinger. They will be played on Saturday the 15th of June, kick-off at 2 o'clock. Two great games there, I must admit.
We might have some news about that second one.
We've got a feeling that there might be some news coming out, but we won't say anything just yet.
Not yet. And you've already mentioned about the under-18s Barla National Cup games, so I think you've already gone through these. So Ashton Burrs losing out to Birkenshaw Blue Dogs by 14 points to 12. Hensingham winning against Alton Raiders. In the under-16s, they also reached the semi-final stage. Kippax Welfare 20, Stanley 16, and Goulburn Parkside 20, Birstall Victoria 12. So we're going to have a Kippax Welfare against Goulburn Parkside. That's going to be intriguing, to be honest, because not only is it a battle of the roses, there's been some good players coming from both of those teams this year that have trialled for England Community Lions, actually. So that'll be interesting. And then in the under-14 semi-finals, Loch Lane 10, Lee Miners Rangers 18. I was over at Lee Miners Rangers and I wondered why everyone was leaving so early. It was like the car park was full. Usually you drive in at sort of like 10 to 9. On a Saturday for England Community Lions training, there'd be like about half a dozen cars there, but the car park was nearly full. I was like, what's going on? And I went to ask somebody. It's like, we're under 14s are away at Loch Lane in the Barla National Cup. It's like,
good win there.
Know your rugby league, Dave. So well done to Lee Miners Rangers there, winning 18-10 at Loch Lane. As you mentioned, really good win. West Hull also put in an excellent performance as well, defeating Shevington Sharks by 48 points to 6. So we've got the small matter of a Lee and Hull final there as well. So there's plenty to get interested in from a Barla National Cup finals day, isn't there? Certainly there are 18s, 16s and 14s.
Do you know what, Dave? I always have this battle of conscience with it, with the Barla Cup.
Yeah.
I like it, and I've always liked it. And obviously, I think it's from us covering it down at Featherstone, and also going back years ago when I went and watched a few games when local sides were playing. Namely, Thatterweath was one. Which was played at Edinburgh, would you believe?
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, they found better ground since.
You've just isolated us now.
Oh, they say brought Featherstone. I can see the flat caps being thrown in the hair as we speak.
Thrown in the air, or thrown in the hair?
Thrown in the hair. But I must admit, it's one of those where I think could it be better organised in the sense from a time point of view where it fitted in better, because obviously there's other competitions, namely the NCL, are playing it at the same time. But the other side of him, he says, well, hang on, it gives other players who may not be getting regular team games, for their NCL side. It's giving them very good competition games. It's like that. What was it in Dr. Dolittle? It's one of them push me, pull you things that I just can't get my head around. But I just have this thing about the competition, and I think it is because it was one of the first sort of amateur finals that I actually went to. So I do have a soft spot for it, and obviously latterly the coverage we've managed to do of it and enjoyed them all when we've been there.
We have enjoyed it, haven't we? And it is good. Up in Barrow there was a couple of games to tell you about. Millham A24, Dalton A0, Ulverston A38, Highpool and Roose Pioneers 34. And in the regional leagues, in the East of England Cup, Bedford Tigers A40, North Hearts Crusaders A30. And then in Scotland, Edinburgh Eagles 38, Glasgow 28. And then your fixtures for this coming weekend in the regional leagues. In the London Premier Division, London Chargers A are set to face off against Brixton Bulls. Medway Dragons host Elmbridge Eagles. West Warriors A are up against Brighton and Hove. In the East of England Premier Division, St Albans Centurions are taking on the Canvey Knights. Anglian Vipers at home to Bedford Tigers A. In the Midlands, Birmingham Bulldogs are up against Oxford Cavaliers. Sherwood Wolf Hunt, they're hosting Swindon St George. Telford Raiders are up against Coventry Bears. And in Scotland, you've got Glasgow up against the Forth Valley Vikings. And there's even South Wales action this weekend as well, according to the fixture list here. Aberafon Fighting Irish are up against Torvin Tigers. South Wales Saints up against the Ronda Outlaws. South Wales Jets taking on Bridgend Blue Bulls, and the Swansea Rams up against the Cynon Valley Cavaliers. So, loads to keep you interested in there, isn't there? Right, you know what? I think we're going to go National Conference League next. 2 games took place over the course of the of last weekend. We've got a report taken from the York Press by David Ward as Heworth met up against near neighbours York Acorn on Saturday. So Heworth have retained the bragging rights with a hard-fought 20 points to 16 success at fierce local rivals York Acorn. A healthy crowd turned up at Thanet Road to witness the first ever meeting of the two clubs in the NCL Premier Division, and were treated to a classic derby clash, a tough and enthralling physical encounter with no quarter asked or given, and the result in doubt right until the final whistle. The Villagers, who were never behind in the contest, led 14-6 at the break and 20 points to 6 after 65 minutes, but had to resist a strong fight back from the hosts before running out deserved winners. Acorn had much the better of the early exchanges in territory, but were let down by a failure to control the ball, which led to them turning over possession at regular intervals. When they did manage to exert pressure on the visitors' line, some solid defence kept them at bay. Heworth remained patient, completing their sets and turning over the ball in good field position before taking the lead on 24 minutes when Danny Allen threaded a pinpoint grubber kick through the advancing defensive line, and second row Tyler Craig followed up to touchdown for an unconverted try. And 5 minutes later they doubled their advantage when a neat offload from centre Ben Dent led to winger George Burton crossing in the right corner to make it 8 points to 0. The Villagers then suffered a cruel blow when the game had to be stopped for 5 minutes after an injury to Callum Rutland in only his second game after coming back from an ACL injury. He had to be carried from the field with a suspected broken ankle. Hope he's getting better, and I hope that we see him back on the field very soon. When the match resumed, Heworth kept up momentum and went further ahead when Craig shrugged off several defenders and raced from the 20-metre line to score his second of the match. Allen converted to put them 14-0 ahead, but Acorn had the last word before the break, with a try by second row George Hunt, goaled by Anthony Chilton, to reduce the deficit to 14-6 at half-time. Both sides came out firing after the break, but it was defences that initially prevailed. That was until the 54th minute, with the Black and Whites looking to have taken control of the match, when forward Liam Richmond showed his strength to force his way over by the right side of the post for their 4th try. Hooker Jack Sadler added the extras to make it 20 points to 6. The hosts, though, were not about to lie down, and 10 minutes later it was game on when Joe Porter proved unstoppable from close to the line, and fullback Matt Chilton's conversion reduced the deficit to 8. Sensing victory and helped by a string of penalties in their favour, Acorn set the visitors' nerves jangling after Chilton crossed wide out on the left edge for an unconverted try to make it 20 points to 16. In a frantic final few minutes, both sides exerted strenuous efforts to prevail, but Heworth's defence stood firm and they held out for a deserved victory. Prop Jack Aldous took the Villagers' Man of the Match award. And next Saturday, Heworth welcomes St Helens outfit Dato Heath Crusaders to Elmbridge Way, while Acorn travel up to Egremont Rangers.
Gotta say there, Parky, that's 4 consecutive games that Acorn have lost now.
Is it?
Yeah, and for Heworth, it's moves them up above Egremont Rangers in the table, but they actually remain behind the neighbours, obviously York Acorn, they're in 8th spot, though it's only through a slightly inferior points. So it just shows you can win, but it doesn't really get you past the people who you want to get past. But it puts them close. It's, I don't know, is it the Challenge Cup run that has took it out of York Acorn?
I mean, to be fair, they wouldn't be the first side to have the league campaign scuppered. Initially, it seemed like they were on the crest of a wave, didn't
That's
it?
right, yeah.
But if you remember, they've had sort of periods of time like this in the past, haven't they?
But if you remember rightly, the coach said that they were really a bad away side, and he held his hands up there.
Yeah.
But I thought that was an home game, and I thought they'd they would have been up. I'm not saying
they were up for it.
Yeah,
but I mean, let's be honest, with that crowd, you're never going to be anything but up for it, are you, at Thanet Road?
And it's 2 teams that we saw play in the Challenge Cup, both Heworth and York Acorn, didn't we, at the beginning of the season?
But yeah, really interesting game there, and great to see, and great to see a York derby back on the agenda, isn't it?
I know they were looking forward to it, weren't they, when we were discussing it, when we were down there for that Rothbrow versus York
very
game.
much so, yeah. It was the one that was ringed on all the calendars, to be honest, and they were saying, we're going to get this one sorted, and it'll be really good. Now, in Division 3, there was one game that took place. This was between Driglington and Beverley, and Driglington have risen to 2nd in the Division 3 table above Hensingham, courtesy of a 24-20 home victory. The hosts were 20 points to 18 behind in the meeting of the section's 3rd and 4th place side from the hour mark. Alec Hardy landing a penalty goal for the visitors after Driglington's Max Littlemore had been sent off for an alleged drill tackle. But despite the Leeds outfit being down to 12 men, Aaron Blake grabbed the match-winning try 10 minutes from time. Joe Sanderson adding his 4th conversion from as many attempts, and Beverley's coach Mark Young was red-carded for alleged abuse of the referee. Blake's score was the 5th occasion on which the lead changed hands in a seesaw encounter. Jack Richardson crossed for Drigg in the 5th minute, but the East Riding side were 12-6 up by the 22nd, Hardy having improved touchdowns by Ben Clark and Lewis Harold. The hosts turned the tables when Joe Bonus and Braden Hunter crossed in quick succession, and Sanderson goaled both efforts, only for Beverley to level by the break through Sam Rowe's try and Hardy's goal. And despite Hardy's penalty goal, the spoils were to rest with Driglington. They're having a first season, aren't they, Drig?
Yeah.
They're now 10 games into the campaign. They've won 6 of them. Dissington, again, look like they've got the advantage in that division, haven't they? They've carried on their winning ways. 7 wins and a draw from their first 9 matches. But the rest of that division is looking so competitive, because remember, you've got East Leeds not that far behind either.
That's right, yeah. When you look at East Leeds results, obviously that's got the old asterisk against them because of points being docked from sort of things that they did wrong last year.
Yeah.
So I mean, the bottom line is it shows you that they're a team that are capable of getting it really in the mix.
Now, I do want to mention, you mentioned about points being deducted, and there's been a further change to the league tables. So this is following a game that took place a few weeks ago that was abandoned after 64 minutes due to a brawl. This was Roose Bridge, who were leading 16 points to 0 at the time, up against Dewsbury Moor.
Yeah, because if I remember rightly, didn't I ask you, would that result stand?
Yeah, it was.
What was the sort of the process with regards to that?
Well, it was heading towards a disciplinary, so that disciplinary has now taken place, and I believe that you go to both clubs first of all to see whether they want the result to stand.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they've agreed to it. However, there is more. Come here. There's more. So both clubs, due to the incidents that took place and some off-field people getting involved as well, both clubs have been handed. I'm just getting this right with the reading of it, to be honest. So that's what I was doing. So they've been found guilty. They've been fined £200 for the brawls, and they both had a £1,000 fine for the abandoned game and failing to control supporters. Now that has been suspended till the 28th of May 2025, but both clubs have been handed a deduction of 4 competition points with immediate effect. Ooh. So looking at that table tonight,
that'll change things, won't it?
It really does change the complexion of Division 1. That and maybe you can look at it for us for the first time here, Steve.
Well, it's got to be said that I'm sure all the teams that were behind those will be rubbing their hands with glee in with the points deduction, because it pulls them right back in the mix. So we've got Lee Miners Rangers, they're out on top with 14 points. Then we've got Waterhead Warriors, they're second with 12 points. Then we've got Wigan St Pat's, they're joint with 12 points.
But you also have an asterisk.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, for different reasons though, obviously. And Dewsbury Moor Maroons, who were there riding high, suddenly they've dropped down to 4th. Then we've got Crossfields following them. They're on 11 points. And just behind them is Roose Bridge. So again, that's a big drop down for them.
You've got a lot of jockeying for position now, haven't you, with that having been handed down to both of those clubs?
Yeah, because just behind Roose Bridge, then you've got Ulton Raiders on 9. So all the way down to, you got Woolston Rovers who were on 4, with Skirler on 4, Clockface Miners on 4, and then Old Dockers on 2. So they're the ones that are a bit of the tail at the moment. Mm-hmm. But from, say, Stanningley, who are on 8 points, up to, well, as I said, the leaders, Lee Miners Rangers, they're on 14, and it's so consequently there again. When you're looking for playoff spots, there, to at least to be in, you're in with a shout now.
Is that where we should start with looking at the fixtures for this coming weekend then?
There's one fixture, by the way, that I think is going to be an absolute standout, and let's see if you can tell me which one it is, because I'm not going to mention it at the moment.
Okay, you're already licking your lips at it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to start with Division 1 because we've been looking at that division. Yeah. So in Division 1, Dewsbury Moor Maroons are set to host Hull Dockers. Ulton Raiders are hosting Clockface Miners. Lee Miners Rangers, the new league leaders, they're away at Skirler. Crossfields are over at Stanningley. Wigan St Pat's at Waterhead. That'll be a good game. And then Woolston Rovers up against Roose Bridge. In the Premier Division, I can see where you're coming from here. Egremont are up against York Acorn. Big game. Heworth are up against Thatto Heath Crusaders. We've already mentioned it.
Yeah.
Big game. Hunslet against West Hull.
Massive.
Wow.
Massive.
I mean, that's a replay of the grand final, that, isn't it, from last year?
Not only that, when you look where they are, the side by side virtually, and if West Hull can win that one, it gives a bit of breathing space between them and Hunslet.
That gives them a better point difference as well, because at the moment they're 1 point behind on point difference from Siddle, aren't they? So and you're right, it would then put 4 points between them and Hunslet, wouldn't it? So Absolutely fascinating. Who else is playing who? Well, we've got Loch Lane hosting Wathborough Hornets, Siddle at home to Kells, West Bowling, they're at home to Rochdale Mayfield. In Division 2, Ellenborough Rangers are home hosting Wigan St Jude's. That'll be a tough ask of their title credentials, that, won't it? Millom hosting Oldham St Anne's. Big game for Millom as well. Myton Warriors host Saddleworth Rangers. Pilkington Rex are up against Barrow Island.
That'll be an interesting one. That'd be good for see how Pilks are doing, because obviously they had the win the other week, and last week I think they got beat, but it wasn't by many.
By 2 points, I think they lost over at Saddleworth. So the results are getting closer. I think when they've got a few more players back on, back on board. Shawcross Sharks host Dewsbury Celtic. Oh, that's a Dewsbury derby. Yeah, you can't beat them, can you?
You're not going to that one, Parky?
No, I've got my marching orders. Thornhill Trojans, they're up against Normanton Knights, and then in Division 3, Beverley host East Leeds. Leeds at home to Bentley. Milford are hosting Hensingham. Seaton Rangers hosting Featherstone Lions as well. So lots of action to look forward to in the National Conference League. Are you considering taking one of these games in then?
I might, depending. I might be going down to see a Northwest Men's game.
Oh,
this
okay.
Week.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I won't be at any National Conference League games this weekend either. I'm up in Scotland.
His Parky's actually been off work today. He spent all day ironing his kilt. I kept on telling you, don't put starch on it.
Okay.
Did he listen? No, he didn't listen.
No. But yes, it's England Community Lions playing the first international of the year.
And what day is that? Is that Saturday?
The under-16s are playing up in Glasgow on Saturday, so it's a 12 o'clock kick-off that, so it'll be an early start. I've got an understanding employer, but I can't take any more time off, so I'm taking off already. With the various things and trips which are ongoing are in the diary. So looking forward to it though. It should be a cracking encounter. I know that both sides have now announced the squads that will take the field. They've not named the teams yet, but we know the squads, and it looks like it's going to be a good encounter. So I look forward to it. I'll let you get updated next week. I think.
Keep us filled in for next week. Yeah, no problem at all. That's great experience, isn't it? And not just on the English lads, because obviously we focus on them because of your involvement, but you know what, we've got to take into consideration, because we talk about the game expanding internationally, and how again, we were talking, it was a shame that the likes of Scotland and Wales weren't in the European Championships.
Which we talked about last week, didn't we?
Yeah. So this is important. These games are important, even though it's a younger...
Well, Scotland are in it. It's Ireland and Wales who are going in this time, you know. But even so, I take your point on board.
Yeah, they are important. And that's why I think these types of... when they've had the round robins competitions, I think, and we were on about... USA being invited over. This is why it's key, and it's not just. It helps to spread the sport, but if you're talking that if you're getting players who are playing it up in their area, and then socially they're having a good time, it's that feel good feeling, isn't it? And it's got to start somewhere.
I love that we get home nations now at 16s. I think that's a huge step forward.
That's important.
And it's massive for the development of players. And for basic, because I think that the more players that get the opportunity to play, representative rugby, the better for me. Because it will drive standards. It will make, because they'll go back to the clubs, they'll put into practice what they've learned in the international setups, and we'll see players across the board getting better, which is what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's about everybody sharing, whether it be, it's best practice all around, isn't it? You know what I mean? Whether it's best practice in how you play, what you can fetch back to your club, and then what you can pass on to your other players who you play with to say, look, if you up your game, this is what you could achieve. I mean, without it being professional, because it's so easy to say, oh, your goal's going to be professional rugby. And sometimes, let's be honest, you may not get there. A lot of the time, you're not going to get there. But if these opportunities are there to see different parts of the world and different countries, etc., then that's just as important as well.
And a quick look through this Scotland squad, and according to a quote here from Barry McGufford, who's the Scotland Rugby League Club Liaison Officer, he said very positively, we've got 3 times the number of Scottish-based players that we had last year, which is another small step in the right direction. And just looking at it, we have a couple of lads in from Galashiels Rugby Union. We've got Will Christie, Sandy McGregor, Aidan Maxton and Ben Milnes, who are all coming in from the Forth Valley Vikings. Oscar Howie comes in from Stirling County. You've got a Dalton player in there as well, out of interest, Isaac McLean. In fact, let's run through the entire squad, because I feel like I don't want to leave any of these lads out. Yeah. They all deserve a mention, don't they? So you've got Calvin Spears from Brotherton, Zach Clayton, Oliver Ferguson, Cameron Hinchcliffe, Greg, Charlie Jackson, Kieran Massey and Joe Willman, all from Stanningley. Drew Doherty from Myton Warriors, Lewis Wright from Stanley Rangers, Callum Duncan from Cramlington Rockets, Max Blackie and Sebastian Miller from Lee Miners Rangers, Harry Woodard from Saracens Rugby Union, Leo Johnston from Yarm Wolves, Declan Smith, Dewsbury Moor Maroons, Jamie Downs from Royal High and Edinburgh Eagles, Michael Warner from Galashiels Rugby Union, William Christie, Sandy McGregor, Aidan Maxton, Ben Milnes from the Forth Valley Vikings, like I mentioned before, Isaac McLean from Dalton, Oscar Howie from Stirling County, Alistair McKenchie from Catterick Crusaders, George Holmes from Cottingham Tigers, Liam Borehill from Kells, Aaron Hinchelwood from Glasgow, Alfie Jackson from Glasson Rangers and Carlisle Rugby Union, Angus Shelton from Linley Swifts, Archie Turriff from Crossfields, Rory Irving from Carlisle Rugby Union, Charlie Benn from York Acorn and Yarm Valley Wolves, and Danny Riley from Wathbrow Hornets. That's the Scotland squad.
And the other thing is that you've got guys who, like you look at some of those teams that we mention on a regular basis, and the thing is that they obviously, whether they are actually Scottish by birth or Scottish by ancestry, does it really make any difference? The bottom line is they're getting a chance to do representative rugby. Yeah. Yes, the best sort of thing that you would like is that everybody who plays for Scotland, everybody who plays for Wales, is born and comes from that country. But you've got to be realistic from a starting point. And even in the professional game, we've seen,
well, you don't have everybody from St Helens representing St Helens, do you?
No, exactly.
In Super League.
Yeah.
So, so I mean, I'm not one that prescribes to that sort of feeling. I think it's just about these lads coming together, just as it is for the England Community Lions, just as it is for the Ireland team, and just as it is for the Welsh lads, all coming together, representing their country with pride.
Yep, that's what it is.
With determination, and I can't wait for kick-off, to be honest.
That's going to be good. It's going to be good there.
I think I've got myself ready. I'm going to go home and pack me overnight bag.
Here we go. Make sure you wrap that kilt up right.
Right, that's us done and dusted for this week, isn't it, Steve?
I think it is, Parky. I mean, it's been a bit of a truncated because of obviously the way the fixtures are structured for that last week, but nevertheless we've certainly gone through some tasty games, not only on the as I said, the community front, from an international level as well.
So thanks as well to Lee Edmondson for giving his time.
Yeah,
great to find out about Roose Pioneers, and no doubt we'll be back in touch again.
Or is it Roose Pioneers?
I'm going to carry on with Roose, but if anybody wants to correct me, please do. You know where I'm at Dave Parkinson RL. Or you could even let Steve know as well.
You could, yeah.
At Steve_Beech RL. Right, that's us done and dusted. Let's get out of here, Steve.
Every tackle, every try, every scrum. Green Cooling is proud to be part of the Community Rugby League family.